What's going on, guys? Cameron back again from Attack on Anime, here to bring you an anime recommendation on Aokana for Rhythm Across the Blue. Now, this anime, before I even start on the main characters, I need to explain what grab shoes are, what competitive grab shoes are, and what flying circus is. Now, grab shoes are pretty simple to explain. They're pretty much the shoes on this island that help people like fly around, and they use as a form of transportation. Now, flying circus is the sport where they use competitive grab shoes to just compete in a one-on-one type sport. And what you do in flying circus is there are four buoys and they're set up in a square and they're all 300 meters apart. You have a 10-minute round of a 1v1 type sport where you score by either touching one of the four buoys or you touch your opponent's back. Now, with the competitive grab shoes, well, pretty much whoever has the most points by the end of the 10 minutes wins. But with competitive grab shoes, there are three different types. There are speeder types that you can accelerate to your top speed really fast, and they're good for scoring points by touching the buoys. Now the fighter types are good at touching opponents' backs and just scoring points that way. And then there are the all-rounder types that are pretty balanced at both, so they're not too good at one or the other. And they have a balancing tool to help people just adjust. So they're pretty much for the beginners. And so now we're going to get into the main characters. And our main character who we follow, her name is Asuka. Now she's new to Kunahama Institute. And one day she stumbles across two second-year students just like herself named Misaki and Messiah. Now Asuka is pretty clumsy and she's just getting used to grab shoes. Like she didn't even know what they were until her new friends that she met told her about it. Now Misaki's character development is kind of really non-existent. She seems like just kind of like the bossy type. She ends up teaching Asuka the rules of flying circus by the end of the first episode, and that's kind of the extent of her character development so far. She has this first year student named Mashiro who follows her all around, and Mashiro labels herself as Misaki's slave, and I was just like, okay, so these two characters don't really have too much actual character to them. But we get to my favorite character in this anime so far, and his name is Messiah, and he has this mystery to him because even whenever he's talking about grab shoes, he kind of gets like uncomfortable because he's just like, oh yeah, I used to play flying circus, or I used to fly around a lot, and then he just kind of like stops and will just stop talking about it. So that kind of implies he had like a tragedy in his background. Maybe in flying circus he hurt himself and he's afraid to like keep going forward with it, or maybe he had like one of those really strict parents that like pushed him too much in a sport to make him want to just like be perfect at it, but then he ended up hating it. We really don't know too much so far, but by the end of the first episode we see Asuka get her first experience in flying circus, and she's just like walking across the beach with Misaki and Mashiro, and they see this girl from another school, and this girl's name is Raiko, and she's from Takafuji Academy. And Takafuji Academy is like a top tier flying circus school. So she's just like one of the best of the best. And she beat Asuka's school, her flying circus's coach. And Asuka was just like, oh, I can't let this stand. I know I just learned about flying circus like 5 minutes ago, but I'm going to try to fight you in it. And Raiko is just like, okay, since you're a beginner, I'm going to kind of make this easy on you. So we're going to drop the buoy count down to 2. We're just going to have 2 buoys, and we're going to do a 5-minute round. And Raiko is just like, if you can score 1 point on me, then you'll win. But I have to just score like however many points I have to in 10 minutes. And Asuka is just like, okay. And during the match, of course, Asuka is getting worked. I'm actually glad that they didn't try to like make Asuka out to be like some natural born talent until the end of the match, where she performs this move called an air kick return, which is pretty much when she pushes herself up to propel herself up, and she touches Raiko's back, scoring a point and actually winning. And that takes us into the second episode, which everyone has heard about her victory now. So everybody's just like, oh my god, Asuka, you should join the flying circus team, because like all of our seniors graduated, so we don't really even have a team anymore. So it's pretty much Asuka's victory over her inspires people to start kind of like joining the team and maybe rebuilding the flying circus. So Asuka, Misaki, and Mashiro join, and they're just like, alright, so we're going to go get our grab shoes. And Asuka actually chooses an all-rounder type since she's still a beginner, so she's just like, I want to get used to it, so I'm just going to pick an all-rounder type. And Misaki chooses a fighter type because that's what she used to use when she was in flying circus. and Mashiro just chooses a fire type because Misaki chose a fighter type. So it's just like I said, like that's kind of the extent of their character development. Like we know Misaki has some background in Flying Circus, and Mashiro just follows Misaki everywhere. So it's just like those two characters are kind of uninteresting to me. But by the end of the first episode, or no, by the end of the second episode, when they start practicing at their practices, Messiah is watching them from the sidelines with the PE teacher Kagami, who is just like this really strict teacher at the school. And Kagami is just like, man, they're actually getting a little bit better. Like I can see them getting a little bit better. I'm glad people are starting to get reinterested in this. And Messiah is just like, oh, I don't really care. He's like saying advice to them like from the sidelines, but he's just like, I don't want to get involved because of whatever happened in his backstory. So that's why he's the most interesting character to me. And by the end of the second episode, Kagami is calling someone on the phone, and she's just like, I want to set up a joint training camp between Takafuji Academy and Kunahama Institute. And that's why she's just like, okay, I want them to get better, and this is the only way to do it. And actually, Takafuji Academy agrees to it, weirdly enough, because you would think that you wouldn't want to help your competition get better. But we don't find out until the third episode what that actual reasoning behind that is. Well, guys, that's gonna bring it to an end for this review. I pretty much just reviewed the first 2 episodes, but I highly recommend to go check this out. It's a pretty fun anime. It has its comedic moments. The mystery behind why Messiah doesn't like Flying Circus anymore is actually pretty interesting, especially as you go on through the episodes, because each episode you get little hints and more that like something happened like that must be tragic to him. But like the other 2 characters, Misaki and Mashiro, I hope they get more character development as the series goes on, because as of right now, they're just like the 2 most uninteresting characters to me. It's just like, I feel like Misaki's going to be like that plot point that's just like, oh, she's good at Flying Circus, and that's kind of going to be her role in this anime. But I'm going to be bringing you guys my episode 3 review pretty soon. But until next time, guys, I'm out.